Hey guys, so I am back, and today's video is going to be a little different. I have been, for the most part, getting in people's ass as far as spirituality goes, and today I'm taking a little bit of like not a detour, but I am taking a different kind. I'm not taking a detour. I just want to address something different, that 2Chainz 2Chainz is on my list today. He needs a little help, right? And he doesn't need that sort of help that Lotto has needed. He doesn't need the guidance that Doja Cat has needed. He doesn't need the help that and whoever else. Who the fuck else I did? I did Lotto, Doja Cat, and damn, I'll be right back. Why the fuck I get Tommy Lee from Love and Hip Hop. So he doesn't need the kind of help that Tommy Lee has needed from me. He doesn't need the help that Lotto and Doja Cat has needed, but he needs a different type of guidance, right? So here we are. Let's get into it. So I watched the interview that he did with Justin LaBoy. Shout out to Justin LaBoy. Sometimes I check out, his podcast, depending on who's on it, and depending on if I resonate with it or not, I'll check it out. So this morning after my workout, last night I actually peeped that he dropped, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna watch that tomorrow. And so I did my workout this morning, and then as I'm fixing my breakfast and things like that, I gave it a listen, and it was very interesting. It was very mature, it was like two guys in a barbershop having a conversation. So I tuned in, I listened up. And it was pretty good, so just a rundown of 2Chainz. For those of y'all that don't know much about him, 2Chainz is a Virgo, okay? So today's video is not about another Libra, but he's a Virgo. He is happily married. They've been married for, some years. He has multiple children. If you don't know, 2Chainz is a successful rapper, but he actually started in a group, I don't know if you guys know the song, If I Don't Do Nothing, I'm a Boss. I'm counting all day like the clock on the wall. So go and get your money, little duffel bag boys. I go and get your money, little duffel bag boys. I ain't never ran from and I damn sure ain't about to pick the day to start running. So he actually was in the Duffel Bag Boys years ago, but he made a transition and he became a solo artist. So now today he's a very successful solo artist, but he's not only an artist, he is also an entrepreneur. He's a businessman. He has connections with a strip club out in Atlanta. He has a restaurant, I believe. He just dropped a book, which is what we're actually going to be talking about. It's his new book, and he's into real estate. I mean, that man is a busy man. Okay, so shout out to you, 2Chainz, and shout out to the Virgos. My child is also a Virgo. So I fuck with Virgos a little bit. You know what I'm saying. So now what I want to discuss as far as what exactly does 2Chainz need my help with? Well, it's nothing really major, right? It's just something where we can nip it in the butt, something that I peeped throughout the interview. Oh my god. And one thing that I learned about 2Chainz is that he's an only child. Did you guys know that? Because I didn't know that, and I would have never, me personally, I would have never guessed that. He just it's something about him. I don't really know if do y'all think he gives only child energy? Because I didn't really see it, but after listening to the interview, I can see that. What I mean? How he has such hard great work ethic. He is self-aware. He respects himself. And just how he never gave up, right? I feel like only children, they have a different type of experience, but we can discuss that another time, right? Today I want to talk about how he recently dropped his first book, and it's titled "The Voice in My Head Is God." Very spiritual of him. So I like that. I really like that title. So throughout the interview, Justin was asking him a bunch of questions of about the book and how did you come up with the title, and what was the inspiration behind the title and what is exactly the book about. And he was basically stating how, well, that's truly how he feels. He feels as though the voice in his head that he has been hearing throughout his entire life is God. And Justin was like, oh, okay, so when did you kind of figure it out? He said he always knew, because he did say that it was, he recognizes it as his intuition, right? And how but to him the voice specifically is God, because I don't know if you guys have put a like name or a title on the voice in your head. I don't know if y'all recognize it as God. I don't know if you recognize it as your higher self. I don't know if you recognize it as your mother. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody recognizes the voice as something different, right? But for him, he recognizes it as God, which is great. And he also was stating how basically the book is about how him using his intuition all throughout his life, with the experiences that he's gone through, his intuition was always the key. By him following his intuition and following the voice of God in his head, it has helped him make great decisions in his life. It has helped him connect the dots in his life, to become who he is today. He's followed that voice. He has followed his intuition, and that's beautiful. He also went into how I think Justin asked him, well, about the title, like, well, now why did you title the book this? Why did you give the book this title? And he said, well, the people that he was working with, they basically were stating how, like, well, I don't know if you want to actually name the book this, title the book this, because people may see it as a religious book, or something. They might put it in a religious category, and that's not necessarily what he's going for. He's basically just going for, like, to help you become self-aware and to help you elevate your self-trust within yourself by listening to the voice in your head. So when they tried to deter him from changing the title of the book, he was like, no, I think this title is good because this is what I feel like the voice in my head is God, and I've followed it up until this point, and I will continue to follow it, so I'm going to name the book what it is. Now, I say all of that to say, throughout the interview, he was saying a lot of intuition and the voice in my head is God, and I truly do believe this, but he wasn't actually putting a title on it. When you feel deeply connected to God, which means you're deeply connected to yourself, and when you're connected to yourself, you follow your intuition, which each decision, each step, each prayer, each guidance that you are receiving from the heavens above and from the heaven within, because God is within you, that's called spirituality. So I love the interview, but I just wish he would have put a title on it, right? Because he wasn't talking about Christianity. He wasn't talking about Islam. He wasn't talking about being he wasn't talking about Buddhism. He wasn't talking about being an atheist. He wasn't talking about, being Catholic, Jewish. He wasn't talking about none of that. He was talking about his spirituality. Your spirituality journey has actually, let me tell you this, because a lot of people don't know this, they don't recognize this. You have actually been on your spirituality journey, the entire time. You're on your spiritual journey right now. You just have not put the name on it. You haven't stamped it as spirituality. You are already living your spiritual journey. Your spiritual journey is to know oneself. Not to be looking outside of you, not to your spirituality is not, it is not anything external. Your spirituality is from within out, right? So he kept saying it, and intuition, and God, and yes, God is the greatest, he's my almighty God, believe that, but God has you on your spiritual journey, right? So that's the only thing I wish he would have put a stamp on, I wish he would have, and maybe he don't know, which is why I'm here to just give him the advice that I think he needs. He loves himself. He's proud of himself. He sees himself. He trusts himself. So he has been following his intuition, which is you being on your spiritual journey. Even those of you that are out in the world that you feel like, sometimes you feel like, are you following your intuition? You are. you actually are, because to feel as though you are making the best decisions over your life, that's stemming from somewhere. It's stemming from somewhere. It may not look like, the way your mother did it, the way your father did it, the way you see your siblings doing it, or the way you see your friends doing it. Okay, first things first, everybody has a different name for the voice in their head. So that's first things first. And then number two, to continue to keep putting one step in front of the other, and to continue to keep moving forward in your life. That means that you are connecting the dots in your life. You are making the best decisions that you see fit for yourself. And that is a spiritual journey. I just want us to start putting some respect on what your spiritual journey is. Your spiritual journey is to know oneself. No, you don't have everything figured out, and you don't know everything, but if you just keep following, the voice in your head is God, the good voice, the voice that tells you, help that stranger cross the street. You see a 80-year-old vieja, old woman, you see her struggling to cross the street, help her cross the street. You see a homeless person on the street, and they're begging for money, so you reach into your pocket, pull out $2, the voice says, give that person some money, so you do that. The voice in your head that tells you, what? You're driving down the highway, something in your head, which is your intuition, tells you, no, take this way, this way, something, I don't think this is a good route, take this route today. That is your intuition. Something within you tells you, what? Call up the sitter and make sure the kids are all right. That's your intuition. Or how about the voice in your head that tells you to take this job, move here, finish that project, start this project, go get pink hair, put on your bifocals today. Listen to that song. That is your intuition. That is the voice of God in your head. So 2Chainz, he's right. He's right. God has been guiding him and teaching him and loving him and helping him the entire time, and he's grateful for that. So he has decided to write this book, put together all these experiences that he's lived through and gotten through because of his intuition, which is God's voice in his head. Put it all together, connect with this person, connect with that person, put it all together and put it out there. People need to learn how to trust yourself. You need to know yourself. VIA, the part of Drake's song where that old man says, you need to know yourself. Yes, you have to know yourself. And that is to trust yourself, to listen to yourself, to respect yourself, to keep taking the steps that you need to take in your life. And that is called a spiritual journey. So for those of you who are like 2Chainz, you've always felt like, you just always felt like, well, I hear the voice in my head. I know it's my intuition. It gives me those gut feelings, but you never knew the name of it. You never knew what that experience was actually called. and it is called Your Spiritual Journey. So shout out to 2Chainz, and Justin LeBoy. The interview was great, and yeah, I hope you all learned something today, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.